Introduction to Pip's life. The Marshes of Kent. In the early 19th century, in the marshy regions of Kent, a young orphan boy named Pip lived a life of hardship and struggle. His home, a small cottage, was a far cry from a haven, where he was forced to reside with his abusive sister, Mrs. Joe Gargery, and her husband, the blacksmith Joe. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, and Pip's life was marked by feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. A life of drudgery. Pip's days were filled with menial tasks, which he was expected to perform without complaint. From helping his brother-in-law in the forge to running errands for his sister, Pip's life was one of relentless toil. He was rarely afforded a moment to himself, and his desire for education and betterment was constantly suppressed by his sister's disapproving gaze. The only solace he found was in his occasional visits to the local churchyard, where he would sit among the tombstones, lost in thought. A glimpse of hope. Despite the bleakness of his surroundings, Pip's spirit remained unbroken. He held on to his dreams, no matter how faint they seemed. His visits to the churchyard also allowed him to strike up a friendship with a convict, Abel Magwitch, who would later play a significant role in shaping Pip's destiny. It was a small spark of hope in an otherwise dismal existence, but it was enough to keep Pip going. In summary, Pip's early life was marked by hardship, drudgery, and loneliness. However, his indomitable spirit and the chance encounter with Abel Magwitch would set the stage for a transformation that would change the course of his life forever. The mysterious convict. The encounter in the marshes. I trudged through the misty marshes, my feet sinking into the damp earth. The eerie silence was only broken by the occasional hooting of an owl in the distance. I had been sent to the marshes to collect some herbs for my sister's remedy. As I wandered deeper into the marshes, the mist began to clear, revealing a figure in the distance. As I drew closer, I saw that it was a convict, his face weathered and worn. His eyes gleamed with an intensity that made me shiver. He was tall and gaunt, with a rough, tattered coat hanging loosely from his shoulders. A heavy iron chain attached to his ankle clanked as he moved. "Hey, boy," he growled, his voice like thunder. "Come here." I hesitated, feeling a sense of unease wash over me. But something about his commanding tone made me approach him. He grasped my arm, his grip like a vice. "Listen, boy," he hissed. "I need your help. I need you to steal some food and a file for me. You do that, and I'll make it worth your while." I was taken aback by his request. Why would I, a mere boy, agree to help a convict? But something about his desperation struck a chord within me. I nodded, and he released his grip on my arm. "Meet me at the old windmill on the outskirts of town tonight," he whispered before disappearing into the mist. As I watched him vanish, I couldn't help but wonder what I had just gotten myself into. Summary: Pip's life takes a dramatic turn when he encounters a convict in the marshes, who demands that Pip steal food and a file for him. Pip agrees to help the convict, despite his reservations, setting in motion a chain of events that will change his life forever. Miss Havisham's strange request. The invitation to Sada's house. I received an unexpected message one morning, inviting me to visit Miss Havisham at her mysterious abode, Sada's house. The note was delivered by a liveried servant, who handed it to me with an air of importance. I felt both curiosity and trepidation as I read the words, written in an elegant hand. Why would the reclusive Miss Havisham, rumored to be a recluse, want to see me? The servant escorted me to Sada's house, a building that seemed to exist in a world of its own. As we approached, I noticed that the windows were all boarded up, and the once grand entrance was overgrown with vines and creepers. The atmosphere was heavy with the scent of decay and neglect. Upon entering, I was struck by the eerie silence that enveloped me. The interior was a labyrinth of cobweb-covered chandeliers, faded portraits, and dusty relics. My guide led me to a grand, though dimly lit, sitting room where Miss Havisham awaited. She sat in a dilapidated armchair, her wedding cake and veil still intact, though yellowed with age. Her eyes gleamed with an otherworldly intensity as she beckoned me forward. "You are Pip, the young man with the fortunate circumstances," she stated, her voice low and husky. "I have been expecting you. You will meet my adopted daughter, Estella, shortly." As she spoke, a vision of loveliness entered the room, her porcelain skin and icy eyes leaving me breathless. Little did I know, this encounter would mark the beginning of a strange and bewildering journey, one that would test my perceptions and change my life forever. In summary, my visit to Sada's house introduced me to the enigmatic Miss Havisham and her captivating adopted daughter, Estella. As I ventured deeper into their mysterious world, I sensed that nothing was as it seemed, and that secrets and surprises lurked around every corner. Entering the world of gentlemen. The transformation of Pip a gentleman in the making. Pip's life was forever changed the day he received a letter from Miss R. Jaggers, the esteemed lawyer, informing him of a substantial inheritance from an anonymous benefactor. The sum of 500, a staggering amount for a young man of his humble beginnings, was enough to catapult him into the world of gentlemen. Overnight, Pip went from being an apprentice to a humble blacksmith to a gentleman of considerable means. As he embarked on this new journey, he was thrust into a world of etiquette, sophistication, and refinement, where the rules of engagement were far removed from the simplicity of his rural upbringing. The first steps into high society. Pip's initial foray into high society was marked by nervous energy and uncertainty. He found himself lost in a sea of unfamiliar faces, unsure of how to interact with the aristocracy. The simplest of tasks, such as addressing a lord or lady, became an ordeal as he struggled to remember the intricacies of aristocratic protocol. However, under the guidance of Mr. Jaggers, Pip began to learn the nuances of gentlemanly behavior, including how to dress, dine, and converse with the upper echelons of society. One of Pip's earliest lessons was the importance of dress. Gone were the days of worn overalls and scuffed boots. Instead, he donned tailored suits, crisp shirts, and polished shoes. His new attire not only transformed his physical appearance, but also instilled in him a sense of confidence and self-assurance. As he navigated the salons and drawing rooms of London's elite, Pip began to realize that dress was an integral part of a gentleman's armor, serving as a visual representation of his status and breeding. The art of conversation and manners, beyond the realm of dress, Pip had to master the art of conversation and manners. He learned to navigate the complexities of dinner table etiquette, where the slightest fox pass could be disastrous. The intricacies of cutlery usage, table manners, and wine service became second nature to him as he practiced the art of graciousness and refinement. Pip's newfound skills enabled him to hold his own in conversations with the likes of Herbert Pocket, the charming and affable son of Mr. Pocket, and even the enigmatic and intimidating Miss Havisham. As he immersed himself in the world of gentlemen, Pip began to appreciate the value of cultural refinement. He discovered the joys of literature, music, and art, and developed a deep appreciation for the works of Dickens, Shakespeare, and Mozart. His newfound love for the arts opened doors to a world of intellectual curiosity as he engaged in stimulating conversations with fellow gentlemen and ladies. A new sense of purpose. Pip's transformation into a gentleman was not limited to mere external trappings. It also brought about a shift in his sense of purpose. As he navigated the complexities of high society, he began to realize that his new status came with responsibilities. He felt an obligation to use his wealth and influence to make a positive impact on the world around him. Pip's interactions with the likes of Magwitch, the convict, and Joe, his humble friend, reminded him of his humble beginnings and instilled in him a sense of empathy and compassion. As Pip reflected on his journey, he realized that becoming a gentleman was not merely a matter of external appearances, but rather a transformative process that touched the very core of his being. He had traded in his rustic simplicity for a life of sophistication and refinement, but in doing so, he had discovered a new sense of purpose and direction. Summary: in this chapter, we have witnessed Pip's remarkable transformation from a humble blacksmith's apprentice to a gentleman of considerable means. As he navigated the complexities of high society, he learned the importance of dress etiquette and cultural refinement. However, Pip's transformation went beyond mere external trappings, as he discovered a new sense of purpose and direction. His journey serves as a testament to the power of change and the human capacity to adapt and grow. London life and new acquaintances. Settling into the bustle of London life, as I stepped off the coach and onto the bustling streets of London, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions: excitement, nervousness, and a hint uncertainty. The sights and sounds of the city were a far cry from the quiet, rural life I had left behind in the marshes. I took a deep breath, shouldering my small trunk, and set off to find my new lodgings. Mr. Jaggers had arranged for me to take up residence with a young gentleman named Herbert Pocket, the son of his dear friend, Mr. Matthew Pocket. As I made my way to Barnard's Inn, I wondered what my new roommate would be like. Would we get along? Would he be kind and welcoming, or would we clash? Upon arrival, I was greeted by a bright, cheerful young man with a mop of curly brown hair. Herbert Pocket was everything I had hoped for and more. We quickly fell into easy conversation, and I found myself feeling at ease in his presence. As we chatted, Herbert revealed that he was a student of law, and his passion for the subject was infectious. I was struck by his kind nature and his stories of the Pocket family, who seemed to be a warm and loving bunch. A few days into my new life, Herbert took me to meet the enigmatic Estella, the ward of the reclusive and wealthy Mr. Jaggers' client, Miss Havisham. Estella was a vision of beauty, with her porcelain skin and raven, black hair. But as we conversed, I sensed a coldness behind her lovely facade, a calculating gaze that seemed to size me up and find me wanting. Despite this, I found myself drawn to her, helpless against the allure of her captivating presence. As I settled into my new routine, I began to realize that London life was full of contradictions: warmth and coldness, beauty and ugliness, all existing side by side. And I, Pip, was caught in the midst of it all, navigating the complexities of my new world with a mix of wonder and trepidation. Summary: in this chapter, Pip arrives in London and begins his new life, meeting his roommate Herbert Pocket and becoming infatuated with the beautiful but cold Estella. As he settles into his new routine, Pip is struck by the contradictions of London life, where warmth and coldness coexist. Unraveling the mystery of the benefactor. The elusive truth behind the benefactor's mask. As I strolled through the quiet streets of London, my mind wandered back to the question that had been plaguing me for what felt like an eternity. Who was my mysterious benefactor? The one who had transformed my life from one of poverty and obscurity to one of privilege and possibility. The one whose generosity had given me a chance to leave my humble beginnings behind and set my sights on a brighter future. The more I thought about it, the more I became convinced that uncovering the identity of this enigmatic figure was the key to understanding my own destiny. Why had they chosen me, of all people, to bestow such a life-changing gift upon? What did they hope to gain from it? And, most pressingly, what did they want from me in return? My obsession with the benefactor's identity had become an all-consuming force in my life, driving me to distraction and causing me to lose sleep. I would find myself poring over every detail, no matter how small, in the hopes of stumbling upon some hidden clue. I would scrutinize every word, every gesture, every nuance of behavior exhibited by those around me, searching for the slightest hint that might lead me to the truth. But my fixation on the benefactor was not the only complication in my life. There was also Estella, the beautiful and elusive object of my affections. Her haughty reserve and distant manner only seemed to fuel my passion for her, and I found myself torn between my desire to uncover the secrets of my benefactor and my longing to unlock the mysteries of Estella's heart. As I navigated the treacherous waters of my relationships, I was fortunate to have the steady guidance of Herbert Pocket, my dear friend and confidant. Herbert's calm and level-headed nature provided a much-needed counterbalance to my own tumultuous emotions, and I often found solace in his wise counsel and good humor. Together, Herbert and I would spend hours discussing my theories about the benefactor, debating the pros and cons of each potential suspect, and speculating about the motives behind their mysterious actions. And though our conversations rarely yielded any concrete answers, they did serve to clarify my own thoughts and feelings, helping me to better understand the labyrinthine path I had stumbled upon. One particular afternoon, as we strolled through the bustling streets of Cheapside, I found myself pouring out my heart to Herbert about Estella. I confessed my deepest fears and insecurities, and he listened with a sympathetic ear, offering words of encouragement and support. "Pip, my dear fellow," he said, as we paused to observe the hurly-burly of the marketplace, "you must not let your obsession with the benefactor cloud your judgment. Remember that there are those around you who care deeply for you, and that you have a life of your own to live, regardless of who your benefactor may be." His words struck a chord deep within me, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders as I realized the truth in his statement. I was not defined solely by the mystery of the benefactor. I was a complex web of emotions, desires, and relationships, and it was time for me to start living my life to the fullest. As I reflect back on that tumultuous period in my life, I am reminded of the importance of balance and perspective. The pursuit of truth and understanding is a noble one, but it must not come at the expense of our relationships, our well-being, and our very sense of self. And so, as I continue on my journey to unravel the mystery of the benefactor, I shall do so with a newfound appreciation for the intricate tapestry of life and a deeper understanding of the true meaning of friendship and love. Confronting the past. Confronting the past, the streets of London were always bustling, but as I walked through the crowded alleys, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. It had been years since I'd seen Magwitch, the convict who had haunted my childhood. Yet, here I was, face to face with him once again. The memories came flooding back, the marshes, the chase, the fear. But I was no longer that scared little boy. I was a grown man, determined to uncover the truth about my benefactor. The meeting, as I turned the corner, I spotted Magwitch leaning against a lamp-post, his weathered face a testament to the hardships he'd faced. His eyes, however, remained the same, piercing and calculating. I felt a shiver run down my spine as he beckoned me towards him, and we exchanged no words, merely a nod, and I followed him to a nearby tavern. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the stench of cheapall. Magwitch gestured for me to take a seat across from him, his movements eerily reminiscent of that fateful night on the Marshes. I hesitated, my heart racing, but something compelled me to sit down. Perhaps it was curiosity, or maybe it was the need to confront the past once and for all. The truth revealed. Magwitch's eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of something else, something that resembled remorse or even gratitude. But it was quickly replaced by a mask of indifference. "You're looking for answers, boy," he growled, his voice like gravel, "and I'm willing to give them to you." The words poured out of him like a dam had burst. He told me about his partnership with Compeyson, the man who had wronged him and left him to rot in prison. He spoke of their rivalry, of the hatred that had consumed them both. And, finally, he revealed the shocking truth that it was Compeyson who had been my benefactor, not Miss Havisham as I had always believed. A sense of betrayal. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The air rushed out of me, leaving me gasping for breath. Compeyson, the man who had wronged Magwitch, had been the one to fund my education, to provide for me, to give me a chance at a better life. The thought was sickening. I felt betrayed, used, and manipulated. Why would Compeyson do such a thing? What did he hope to gain from my success? Magwitch's explanation offered little solace. He told me that Compeyson had seen an opportunity to exact revenge on him, to prove that even the lowest of convicts could be redeemed. But at what cost? I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden, what other lies had been told. A newfound understanding, as I left the tavern, my mind reeling with the revelation, I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of gratitude towards Magwitch. He had given me the truth, no matter how painful it was. And in doing so, he had set me free. I realized that my past and present were inextricably linked, that the events that had shaped me were not what I had thought they were. The confrontation with Magwitch had been a turning point. It had forced me to confront the secrets, the lies, and the betrayals that had defined my life. But it had also given me a newfound understanding of myself, of my place in the world. I knew that I still had a long way to go, that there were still many mysteries to unravel. But for the first time in my life, I felt a sense of control, a sense of purpose. In the summary in this chapter, Pip's past and present collide as he confronts Magwitch, the convict who had haunted his childhood. The truth about his benefactor is finally revealed, and Pip is forced to come to terms with the shocking revelation that it was Compeyson, not Miss Havisham, who had funded his education. The confrontation is a turning point for Pip, allowing him to uncover the secrets and lies that had defined his life. Ultimately, it gives him a newfound understanding of himself and his place in the world, setting him on a path towards discovery and redemption. Love, loss, and redemption. The consequences of deception. Pip's world was crumbling around him. The secrets he had kept hidden for so long were finally beginning to surface, and the consequences were devastating. His relationship with Estella, the one person he had dared to love, was on the brink of collapse. The weight of his deception was crushing him, and he knew he had to confront the truth head-on if he wanted any chance of redemption. The catalyst for this reckoning was the revelation of Magwitch's true identity as his benefactor. The convict's words still lingered in Pip's mind. "You're part of my life. You're a part of myself." It was a harsh realization, one that forced Pip to confront the darkness he had tried to escape for so long. He saw now that his wealthy benefactor was not the benevolent figure he had imagined, but a complex and troubled individual with his own motivations and secrets. As Pip grappled with the truth, he began to understand the true cost of his actions. He had let his desire for wealth and status cloud his judgment, leading him to abandon those who truly cared for him. The pain he had caused Joe, the humble blacksmith, and Biddy, the kind-hearted village girl, was still fresh in his mind. Their love and loyalty had been met with arrogance and disdain, and for that Pip was truly sorry. In the midst of this turmoil, Pip came to a profound realization that love and forgiveness were not mutually exclusive, but intertwined. He saw that his desire for redemption was not about escaping his past, but about making amends and learning from his mistakes. As he took the first tentative steps towards forgiveness, Pip felt the weight of his deception slowly lifting, replaced by a sense of hope and renewal. Summary: Pip's world is turned upside down as the secrets of his benefactor are revealed, forcing him to confront the consequences of his actions. Through this painful reckoning, Pip comes to understand the value of love, forgiveness, and redemption, and begins to take the first steps towards making amends and starting anew. A new beginning. A new beginning at rediscovering simplicity. As Pip stepped out of the darkness of his past, he was met with the warm, comforting light of a new dawn. The trials he had faced had taken their toll, but they had also gifted him with a profound appreciation for the simple things in life. Gone were the days of lavish indulgences and reckless pursuits. In their place, Pip had discovered the quiet joys of a humble existence, and a morning stroll through the rolling hills of his childhood home, surrounded by the sweet songs of birds and the gentle rustle of leaves, had become a cherished ritual. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from the kitchen, the warmth of a crackling fire on a chilly evening, and the gentle touch of a loved one's hand, all these things had taken on a new significance in Pip's life. And debts unencumbered by expectations, Pip had begun to see the world with fresh eyes, unencumbered by the expectations of others. He no longer felt the need to prove himself, to dazzle and impress. Instead, he had discovered the beauty of authenticity, of being true to himself and his own desires. This newfound freedom had brought with it a sense of peace, a sense of belonging to himself. A sense of hope. As Pip looked to the future, he felt a sense of hope that he had not experienced in years. He knew that the road ahead would not be without its challenges, but he was no longer intimidated by the unknown. He had faced his demons and emerged victorious, wiser and more resilient for it. The future, once a daunting prospect, now seemed full of promise and possibility. And summary, Pip's journey had been one of transformation, of growth and self-discovery. As he embarked on this new chapter of his life, he carried with him a profound appreciation for the simple things, a sense of freedom from expectation, and a heart full of hope for the future.